Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. Just Paul and Stu this week, but don't you fret, my friend. They have got it all covered. They are going to cover all the games that have gone, all the games to come. I believe there are a lot of games to come. So, strap in for all of the games to come and the predictions, what these guys think is going to go down. They will also cover off last week's games, and they've got you covered. Don't worry. They can do it. We have faith. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave reviews where you can leave reviews, and share that podcast around, people. If you like the football and you listen to this podcast, maybe you know somebody who also likes the football and likes podcasts. Put this in their hands. They will thank you. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, football podcast.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we're back for yet another week of CookieCast football podcast action. Your finest Nottingham Forest, Hull and Middlesbrough updates coming right at you. Indeed, like Cleopatra. Once again, it's just myself and Mr. Woodmansey to take you through all three of our clubs. So no Mr. Moore, so the Forest flavour will have to come from myself this week.
It's all red shirts, isn't it? It's all the same.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Their European Cup is basically Borough's European Cup because of that exact stat. One in red, it definitely means that Borough have won the European Cup. Twice, no less. So, we'll start with the former European champions, Nottingham Forest, and their game last week away at Fenerbahce. Now, we went into this a little bit apprehensively, I'd say, as one of us had gone for a win for Fenerbahce and one of us had gone for a draw. We couldn't be further from the actual scoreline, ladies and gentlemen. This was, of course, Vitor Pereira's first game in charge of Nottingham Forest since being appointed the full-time manager, which probably gives him all of about 6 weeks before he's probably out on his ear, I would say. Not if he keeps getting results like this, however, as it was a 3-0 Nottingham Forest win. He scored the first. On the 21st minute, it was a bit of a lung-busting run from Murillo. He picked the ball up just around the halfway line, just kept going. No one closed him down, so he thought, fuck it, and he just pinged one from the edge of the box on his left peg. Keeper had no chance. 1-0 Forest. They made it 2 on the 43rd minute. It was a corner from the left-hand side, which was flicked on at the near post by Morgan Gibbs-White, and Igor Jesus found himself on the back stick. Couldn't really miss from probably about 0.8 yards out. Just kind of let it hit him and went in the back of the net for 2-0. Into the second half, I think Fenerbahce had a shout for a penalty, which was checked on the VAR, but given as no penalty. The Fenerbahce boss didn't look too happy about it and was yellow carded with trouble. But Forest wrapped the game up in the 50th minute when Morgan Gibbs-White scored. It was Hutchinson who won the ball back and played through Igor Jesus, who found himself on the edge of the box. He played a little square pass back towards Morgan Gibbs-White, who hit the ball as he was falling over. Probably the best way to say it. Like, he kind of scuffed it, but it had enough on it to roll past the keeper to make it 3-0 to Nottingham Forest and give them a very, very good head start for the second leg this coming week, where they'll take on Fenerbahce at home, knowing that anything better than a 2-0 loss sees them into the round of 16. As we said before, one of us had gone for a 1-0 Fenerbahce win, That was Mr. Stuart Woodmansey, so he gets no points as Fenerbahce didn't score. So I can't even give him a bonus point for a Fenerbahce goal. I'd gone for a 1-1 draw with Kante to score for Fenerbahce and Igor Jesus to score for Forest. So I get myself a bonus point for the Forest goal at least. So 1 point for me, no points for Stu, and we move, speaking of Mr. Woodmansey, to his team and a 12:30 kickoff on Saturday lunchtime, where Hull City were taking on Queen's Park Rangers. Now, I believe you were in attendance for this, and bad day at the office. Shall we just stick this one down as?
Oh, I mean, just completely cheese salad me. Yeah, it was terrible. But Hull did come out looking like they were actually ready to rip QPR a new one. They started the game very, very well. QPR barely touched the ball, really, in the first 20 minutes of the game, seemingly happy to sit back, particularly as Miller curled a shot that went just wide of the far post after about 3 minutes. Like I said, really, really did start with some intent. But unfortunately, that was as close as Hull got. Despite having possession for most of the next 17 minutes, QPR scored. In-swinging corner, ended up in the net off a very, very unlucky Paddy McNair. Wasn't really helped by the fact that Ivor Pandor just decided to do just nothing. Just completely misjudged the flight of the ball, had a bit of a flap, was nowhere to be seen. But thankfully, Hull did equalise on 39 minutes as Yu Hirakawa broke into the right-hand side of the penalty area, got to the byline, crossed to Gelhardt. It was a bit of a scuff. Oh, well, the cross wasn't that powerful. Should have been dealt with by the defender who just completely goosed it. I don't think Gelhardt expected to actually see the ball come to him and scuffed his shot really, really badly. But it squirmed its way in. So Gelhardt back on the score sheet, 1-1 heading into half-time. The second half started pretty much the same as the first half. It was all Hull, but nothing to show for it. Colley for QPR shot over. Madsen had a free kick saved before Sergei had seen enough. Decided he was going to introduce quite a few substitutions to try and change the game. But unfortunately, none of them had any effect on the game, and for my money, actually seemed to worsen the team. John Lundstrom particularly had an absolute stinker once he came on. He seemed to be 10 yards off the pace every time he was anywhere, sort of, the ball was remotely near him. QPR did, however, unfortunately seal the game late on. Firstly, with a good strike into the top right-hand corner from Benny. And that was before Kone wrapped up the points with a good counter-attacking goal, as Hull did try and push for the equaliser. Unfortunately, then, full-time was 1-3 to QPR. As I said, the negative takeaways aside from the result was the fact that Pandor seems to be getting worse. He's a decent enough shot stopper most of the time. He wants too much time on the ball, and his distribution is just terrible. Unfortunately, despite the fact that we seemingly have 5 keepers or whatever on the books, a few of them obviously out on loan, there's nobody really pushing him for his place. I don't mean that necessarily badly on Phillips. I don't think he's that bad, but he didn't exactly cover himself in glory during the Chelsea FA Cup game, or enough to sort of push Pandor off the number 1 spot. So that's not great. He's not really going through a great sort of form period at the moment. And annoyingly as well, despite the fact that he got the cross in for the whole goal, Hirakawa was taken off as part of some of the substitutions with an ankle injury. It looked a bit of an innocuous one, possibly a slight impact injury, but since the game it's been revealed that it's been put down as a reoccurrence of an old ankle injury that he suffered a couple of years ago. is looking likely it'll probably be a season ender. May even require a little bit of surgery, which isn't great considering he's been an absolute bright spark since he came to us on loan in January. I really hope that he manages to get fit, and it'd be absolutely like cracking to see him in a City shirt. Whether playoffs, not playoffs, whatever, he seemed to be really enjoying his football, and he's been enjoyable for us to watch. So fingers crossed that he makes a full recovery, and we get to see him pull on the black and amber again.
Very much so. I did see that as we were travelling back from Leeds. Yeah, it didn't look great. So hopefully it's positive rather than negative, but we'll have to wait and see, I suppose, like you said. So predictions wise, I was going to say it's no points for anybody, but it definitely is because we both went for a whole win, so we don't get any points for that. But we did pick Gelhardt as one of our goal scorers, so we do get a bonus point that for each of us. That is for that one. So, but I had Gelhardt and Dowell. Stuart had Gelhardt, McBurney, and Hayden to score for Queen's Park Rangers. They're 2-1 wins, so just a bonus point apiece for us both there. Third game of the week was my lot, Middlesbrough taking on Oxford United, second bottom Oxford United, sorry, I should say. And the Borough were looking to bounce back after the disappointment of losing against Coventry the week earlier in the week. And I was slightly concerned that this probably would be the case, but unfortunately, Borough weren't able to capitalise and bounce back. As this game played out to a 0-0 draw, Oxford came with I'm presuming an idea of trying to get a point as a bare minimum, but maybe try and see if they could spring Borough on the counter. And it was actually them that had the best of the chances from what I've seen from the highlights. Borough potentially could have had an early penalty about 15 minutes in. A very similar situation to the penalty that was given against them for Matt Targett's handball in the box against Coventry on Monday, where the ball's kind of bounced up, and the Oxford guys like almost had his arms in the air, like sort of flailing around. Struck his arm. Ref hasn't given it. It's one of those ones where it's 50. Half the time it's given, half the time it's not given. You just kind of have to play with as it is, to be honest with you. But yeah, if Borough get the penalty, stick it away 15 minutes in, you'd like to think that the game plan changes for Oxford. But the longer they can take it into the game and it stays at 0-0, the longer it plays into their game plan, and that's unfortunately as it stayed. Like I say, Oxford technically had the better chances actually. Stanley Mills at the bar midway through the first half. Going into the break, Pert Harris hit the post with an effort at the back stick. There was a couple of chances for Borough when they had a strike that in the second half that when Tommy Conway was running the channels, ran across the box. The ball was tried to be played through to him. He tried to get on the end of it, but only managed to find his effort straight at the keeper. And like I say, Borough were frustrated in the fact that they were only able to get a 0-0 draw. Strangely enough, everyone else around Borough lost. Obviously, Hull lost to QPR. Ipswich lost in an absolutely ridiculous game at Wrexham 5-3. And Millwall were beaten at home by Portsmouth. So even though they only got a point, they actually improved their position in the league. So to say that it was a 0-0 draw, they actually ended up the day better off than they started. No points, surprisingly enough, around for anybody, as I gone for a 4-0 Borough win and Stuart gone for a 3-1 Borough win. So no points for that one. And that moves us to our fourth game of the week, which saw Nottingham Forest take on Liverpool. I literally saw, I would say, 5 minutes of this game. Maybe that's a stretch. Maybe it was 7, because I turned it on just as Liverpool scored the goal was then chalked off for a handball. So I was like, thank God for that. It was a very, very unfortunate goal to concede as well. It was Forest were trying to clear from their own box, off their own line, in fact. And the guy clearing it off the line managed to hit it straight into Alexis McAllister. But it rebounded in off the back of his arm. So correctly was chalked off for a handball. From everything I've read about this, Forest were much the better team. Liverpool were pretty much under the cosh for the entirety of the game. And it's just incredibly unfortunate that in the 97th minute, so the 7th minute of injury time, Alexis McAllister popped up in the right place at the right time to pop the ball into the back of the Liverpool goal, the Forest goal, to make it 1-0 to Liverpool. Yeah, disappointing. And now I can't even remember how he scored. I remember the goal that got chalked off, but I can't actually remember the winner. Annoyingly, but yeah, Forest apparently were much the better team, but couldn't sit the ball away. So obviously, Liverpool doing that meant that they got the win. Both of us had a Liverpool win. I'd gone 3-1, but didn't pick McAllister to score. Stu gone 2-1, also didn't pick McAllister to score. So just a point apiece, which means that after 4 games, it's 3 points to me, 2 points to Mr. Woodmansey, with 2 games left to cover from this week. The 5th game was the biggest scoring game of the week and took us back to the MKM Stadium. For what I didn't realise at the time was the 5th game on the spin that Hull had at home. How the hell did we manage to not cover that over the course of the last 2 weeks?
Yeah. It's the way that it fell, because we would have had 3 games anyway, which feels quite normal within a month. It can happen that way if the weekends fall. The extra 2 games was the rearranged Watford game after Icy Flamethrower Gate, and then the FA Cup game against Chelsea. So yeah, 5 home games in the shortest month of the year seems a little bit ridiculous. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what the ground staff said. However, those weren't the words used. So yeah, I wasn't overly optimistic coming into this one, not just because of the result, like even before that, when we discussed this game last week, before the QPR game had happened, mainly because since we beat them in the playoffs a few years ago, it hasn't really gone massively well, or it's just been an absolute bore fest, which had Mr. Moore been here tonight, I assume he would have reminisced fondly about the fact that we could have fallen asleep at the game last year, and then Derby went and stole it with a filthy corner set play. So wasn't really overly enthused. I ended up actually on my own as well, because midweek game, so no kids with me. And partner in crime, Mr. Walker, was under the weather. So I was getting there thinking, why am I even coming?
Raining?
Pleased I did in the end. You what, sorry?
Raining?
Oh, no. It was a lovely, balmy 13 degrees in East Yorkshire.
Oh, my word. Short weather.
Exactly. I didn't even have the coat zipped up. That's how warm it was.
Oh.
Anyway, needed a big performance after what happened at the QPR one. And much like the QPR game, Hull did set off very, very well. They set to work terrorising the Derby left-back very early on with Ryan Giles and Liam Miller just linking up every opportunity they could on the overlap. Didn't know which one of them was going to come for furthest forward. The left back just did not know where he was. And it was that partnership that won a corner. So Miller played in Giles. Giles tried to catch the keeper out at the near post around 8 minutes. Ball went out for a corner. The corner was swung in by Amir Hadzimetovic, and it was placed right on top of the keeper, who completely missed it. And the ball grazed in off former Tiger Callum Elder and straight into the back of the Derby net. So Elder still doing the business for the Tigers, despite the fact he hasn't played for us for about 3 seasons now. 1-0, and that was 9 minutes gone. Miller and Giles carried on. But again, like the QPR game, despite the fact it had been all Hull, Derby scored with their first attack of the game. Sammy Smodics recovered a deep corner, passed it to Travis, whose shot was saved by Panda, but basically palmed straight into the path of the onrushing Forsyth. And after that, to be fair, Derby were absolutely flying. Ajaman going close after a bit of a weaving run. And then, for once, Hull went ahead against the run of play. Elder, again, helping out his old side with a clearance straight to Joe Gelhart, passed it to McBurney, who turned very nicely past Forsyth and pulled the ball back across the keeper to make it 2-1. I don't know if you've seen the goal, Paul, at all.
I have seen that one.
Sat behind the goal into which that was scored. When he tried to turn to begin with, my brain was already, you fuck this up. It's what are you doing? Just shoot. Oh, it's gone in. So I was like, it wasn't the cleanest turn you'll ever see. Not quite the turning circle of the Titanic, but maybe more truck. But it was very, very well taken. And to be fair to him, striker's finish, pulling it back across the keeper in the way that he did. So happy to see it sail past the keeper for 2-1. But unfortunately, 3 minutes later, a whole 3 minutes later, it was 2-2. Ajamang's shot was again parried by Panda. And this time, Smodics was there to slot into an empty net. Game went into halftime 2-2. Unsurprisingly, for all of us in attendance, Callum Elder was taken off at halftime after helping his old side so much in the first half. And to be fair, though, Derby should have made it 3-2. Panda redeemed himself somewhat by closing down Bobby Clark, who was through on goal. Nowhere for him to go, shot straight at the keeper, and the game remained level. That was until Hull managed to score on 75 minutes. And of all the people that I could possibly give you to have scored the goal, it would have taken a very long time for anybody to get to John Egan as their listed goal scorer. Miller out on the left, nice pass into McBurney, who teed up Egan, turned nicely on the edge of the box. He'd obviously been paying attention to what McBurney had done first half, and just passed the ball basically into the bottom right-hand side of the net. There was a lot of pass and move before it had even got to Liam Miller in that. It was a really, really lovely team goal to watch. Made up for Egan as well, because he's back in the side after a little bit in and out. Because obviously, like signing Paddy McNair and stuff, we've got a decent centre-half rotation going on at the moment. Throw into the mix the fact we'll have Semi Ajayi to come back from injury at some point as well. And the centre-halves as a unit are looking pretty strong. So yeah, 3-2 to Hull. Hull wrapped up the points in the 84th minute. Matt Clark this time tried to head clear for Derby, but was being challenged by Kyle Joseph. As Matt Clark headed it, he basically headed it into the back of Kyle Joseph's head. And luckily enough, that played the ball through for Lewis Kumas, who took a bouncing ball down on his chest and then volleyed it straight into the right-hand side of the net. Lovely finish. Good to see the young man getting another goal as well. Starting to get a bit of a reputation as an impact player. Maybe not a starter, but he's certainly he's done the business a couple of times off the bench now. So yeah, Hull take the points. Derby, two things I will say is it's Derby, not Dorby, for all of you that were shouting around in the stadium last night. It's definitely not got an O in it. But in credit to them, we won't say this very often on this podcast, a Tuesday night, yes, it's not the longest journey in the world, but that away end was absolutely packed to the rafters. Very, very good following. And fair play to him. To be fair, because it was decent banter. I would say all night. I did enjoy the fact that they started with the old classic. You only sing when you're winning. To which Hull responded. With "You only sing when you're drawing," which I did quite enjoy.
Nice, I like it. That was very nice. Yes, not often we say positive things about Derby on this channel, so let's give them their due. Predictions-wise, again, not very optimistic, but we do get points. Stuart gone for a 1-0 Derby win with Schmodix to score, so there's a point there. I'd gone for a 2-2 draw, so at half-time I was fucking laughing, ladies and gentlemen. Just all had to go and ruin the party in the second half, didn't they? So thanks for that. Not bad. I'd gone for Millar and McBurney, so a point there. Morris and Adjiman didn't score for Derby.
One thing I did forget to mention in the run of it was that despite the fact that Giles was having a really good game, halfway through, was it towards the end of the first half, I think? Yeah, it was towards the end of the first half. He, unfortunately, end of the second half, during the second half, he was chasing down an attacker and unfortunately had to let that attacker go as he pulled up with another hamstring strain. Early reports on that one, again, suggesting possible season ender. So we'll see where that goes. Just as I was saying about the centre-half unit looking very strong, we then finished the game with our right-back captain, Louis Coyle, playing left-back and Cody Drame coming in at right-back. So the wing-backs might be a bit makeshift for the foreseeable.
Not ideal. You'll just get that young lad to come in who, come against the Borough.
Oh,
he'll be fine.
Cahill McCarthy, yeah, but he's another centre half.
Yeah, it's fine. He played. Did he? Must have. Well, I know that he came on for Giles in the Borough game. Did he play left back, or did they have a bit of a reshuffle?
They went to three at the back in the middle with the wing backs, didn't they? Still, so
right.
It's the system that Jakirovic has sort of been playing for the last, since Christmas really, and possibly before. I feel that some teams it really works against. Obviously, we got a lot of joy out of it against Derby, but then QPR and even in the games before that, the ones that have actually done the homework and worked it out know that if they can stop the fullbacks getting forward, they haven't really got a plan B for most of the time. So, we'll see how it goes.
So yes, just a point apiece for us there, which moves me on to 4 points for the week and keeps Stuart 3 points for the week. And our last game is my lot again, and they had another game against one of the bottom three.
I was on 2 points before, wasn't I? It was 3-2.
Yeah, I was going to say I wasn't trying to do you out of points there. I just phrased it poorly. Yes, moved me on to 4 and moved you on to 3. That's how I should have phrased it. If I actually used good England and that. But I didn't because I'm from Teesside. So speaking of Teesside, it does bring us on to Middlesbrough versus Leicester City, which was the last game of the week. Another one where Borough were playing a member of the current bottom three at home, and more of the same, unfortunately, unable to really break them down. Borough had the first real chance on target, a free kick from Matt Target, on the left-hand side, whipped the ball around the wall, but 85-year-old goalkeeper Asmir Begovic was equal to it and just pushed the ball away to safety. But it was Leicester that took the lead on the 18th minute. Bit of a needless, silly free kick given away by Adelson Malander out on the right-hand side. The free kick was swung in, and a free header for a Coley who just found himself not unmarked, as Luke Ayling was indeed marking him, but just decided to not challenge him for whatever reason he thought of. Really, really bad game from Luke Ayling. He's credit where it's due, he's been very good all season playing at centre back, or at times as part of a back three. But in the Coventry game, he was at fault for at least one of the goals, and against Leicester last night, he was at fault for the first and almost gave away a second in the second half. But we'll get onto that in a little while. So yes, it was 1-0 to Leicester. Borough plugged away, tried to get back into the game. Conway fired wide from just inside the box. Kept plugging away, and they got their rewards in the second minute of injury time at the end of the first half. A neat little 1-2 between Hayden Hackney and Riley McGree. Ended up with the ball being worked in behind for the onrushing Conway, who'd made his run into the box. He sort of got to the byline and cut the ball back for the onrushing McGree, who'd made his way into the box. And he's managed to find the back of the net from about 10 yards out. A really nice little sort of well-worked team goal to get Borough back into it. And that should have really been the catalyst for him to kick on into the second half and really put a marker down. But again, it wasn't all Leicester, as Borough did have chances. But it was Leicester that were definitely setting the pace. It seemed, like I say, this second chance that came, another long ball that was placed over the top, and for the second time in 2 games that it's happened to him, Luke Ayling lets the ball bounce and then tried to head it back to the keeper, leaves it short. I think it's Patson Daka gets onto the end of it and should really do better. He put the ball wide when he should have at least got it on target and made Sol Brim make a save. So they got away with that one. I think I've seen a lot of people saying exactly the same thing, really. A lot of the teams just looking tired at the moment because they play pretty much the same 11, maybe with one or two tweaks here and there, but it's 8 or 9 of the players are exactly the same week in, week out, and at this point they're just knackered. They need a break and stuff like that. So yeah, not good. Both teams had chances. Borough had one right at the death to try and bring it back to take the lead 2-1. Slight hints that the ball struck an arm in the Leicester box. Again, it was at pace. Difficult for the ref to give it if he's only seen it once at speed. I can't say that it was one that I would have been crying out for if I'd have seen it personally, but another disappointing result in the fact that Borough dropped more points at home to a member of the bottom 3, and it finishes 1-1. Both of us have gone for Borough wins. I'd gone 2-1, Conway, Strelech and Monga. Stuart gone 2-0 with Whitaker and Target, so no bonus points for either of us, which means that the week finishes on 4 points for myself and 3 points for Mr. Woodmansey. So it's a win if we're doing it that way for myself. So, week 27 has 6 games. 6 games once again, ladies and gentlemen. And Borough only have 1 of them. 3 Nottingham Forest games to cover this week. 3. Amazing. So, myself and Mr. Woodmansey are going to take a short break, but then we're going to come straight back at you with our predictions for week 27's games, which start in the Europa League. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back at you just after this. And just like that, the break is over, and we are right back at you. So, like I said, 6 games to predict this week, 3 of which involve Nottingham Forest, and that is indeed where we start this week's festivities. So, like we said from last week, this is the second leg of their knockout round playoff, I suppose is the best way to describe it, against Fenerbahce in the Europa League. So Forest, like I said, they're going to this knowing that if they can avoid defeat by 3 or more goals, yeah, they will progress. So anything other than a 3-0 win for Fenerbahce, Forest will be through into the next round. Obviously, Mr. Moore isn't here, so I can't give predictions. So he can't go last. So I'll have to go first in that regard. I've gone for a 1-1 draw here. I think the fact that Forest have got the 3-goal cushion will probably dictate a lot of the pace of this. And is it is it too easy to just say that Forest will just shit out their way through this one? I don't know. It just kind of feels like it's almost like I wouldn't be surprised if it's 0-0 at half time because I imagine they'll just want to kill the first 45 minutes just to sort of like stop Fenerbahce having any sort of like say in the game. Keep it tight. They might score in the second half, but then obviously they're going to have to push for more goals to get back into the tie. And I think that'll open them up at the back, and that's when Forest might pounce. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I've gone for Hutchinson to score for Forest and Asensio to score for Fenerbahce. What have you gone for?
Well, I said they'd lose last week, and they couldn't really have been any more wrong. So I completely agree. I think that the pace is going to have to be dictated by Fenerbahce if they're looking to get anywhere. But I think Forest have enough about them to manage the game. I think that it could be feisty if it goes that way because I would expect probably quite a few cards coming the way of the away team, particularly. But ultimately, I've gone for a 1-0 Forest win with Hudson-Odoi. Feels like a while since we've heard his name, so he must be well overdue.
It does. It does, actually, to be fair. It's only just dawned on me. Is Fenerbahce not your guys' team?
Fenerbahce is the boyhood club of the owner of Hull City. And last season, when Hull so spectacularly spent the entire football season shitting the bed, his eye was drawn because I don't know if he had like some honorary role or but he had some involved. Obviously, he couldn't be. There's the rules about like ownership and stuff like that, and it wasn't kind of involved in that respect. But it was when they got Jose in and all that kind of stuff. It was heavily involved in that introduction, the way that the club went. But obviously, can't have gone that well because Mourinho's not there anymore, is he? So. He's and now look what happens when you spend a season, albeit not being able to spend money, but concentrating on your actual side of that you own and fourth/fifth in the league. That'll do.
What's the chances we reckon he'll be at the game? Obviously, we'll never find out because
I mean, it probably will be. It was in Hull and surrounding areas. Yeah, he was at the game last night. And because he is like captain social media, everything goes on Instagram. And there was pictures of him like around Beverley, near the Humber Bridge. Like, I would suspect that if he has the chance, he'll probably be at the game tomorrow night.
I would imagine so. So that's our Thursday evening fixture. We move to the weekend, and there's only one game on Saturday. The reason for which will become apparent when we get to the fourth game of the week. But it sees Portsmouth taking on Hull City. And I'm just double checking this. It is. Obviously, because everyone knows that Portsmouth isn't a very far trip from the north of England, they've of course decided to make this a 12:30 kickoff. Because why wouldn't they?
But don't forget though that the reverse fixture earlier this season also a 12:30 kickoff.
Absolute nonsense. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, like, at what point does someone just like go to these people at the football league and just say, "Can we maybe not shit all over the fans that have got to actually do the actual yardage and the miles and stuff like that goes into these people that have to actually travel to support their team?" But regardless, that's an argument for another day. That's a discussion for another time. Portsmouth versus Hull. Obviously, it is Mr. Woodmansey's team, so he will give his prediction last. A little bit of background into this. Portsmouth are in odd form, shall we say. They have won 3 and lost 3 of their last 6. Sketchy. I think, well, I mean, Hull lost 3, drawn 1, won 2 of their last 6. Granted, one of them was against Chelsea in the Cup. So take with that what you will. I think this screams that we're due a draw, personally. So I've gone for a 2-2. Gone for Caballero and Ali to score for Portsmouth. Slater and Kumas to bag for Hull. How do you see it playing out? And I can only presume that you've not suffered a brain injury, so you're not going to be slogging your guts out trying to get to Portsmouth for this one.
I have dad duties this weekend, and because I like spending time with my kids, not because there's like some weird situation. I will be attending Pokemon Day festivities on Saturday. So there we go. I agree with everything that you said. It's screaming draw to me as well. Remember that the last game of last season was Portsmouth away, where Hull needed a result to stay up and scraped a 1-1 draw with Matt Crooks scoring the goal that day. So just for old time's sake, I have gone for another 1-1 draw. However, Mr. Crooks only made the bench last night because of his return from injury and didn't actually feature. Obviously, Hull were cooking on gas by the point he would have been brought on, so left to rest, which was probably the best result. So I haven't gone for Crooks this time, but I have gone for Gelhardt to score for Hull. Looks to be playing himself back into a bit of form. Was a very, very busy man in the Derby game. And I have gone for Bishop to bash one in for Portsmouth.
Oh dear. Just to clarify, was that Gelhardt you said?
It was.
We'll just gloss over goal scorer for Portsmouth there. Our third game of the week takes us to the South Coast once again. Brighton and Hove Albion taking on Nottingham Forest. Obviously, Forest playing on a Sunday because of their Thursday night involvement. Excuse me. Well, I gave my prediction first for the previous Forest game, so let's go to Stu for his prediction on how he sees Brighton versus Nottingham Forest.
Speaking of teams in funny form, let's chalk Brighton into that column as well. Seem to be a bit all over the place at the moment. Might be a good time to play him. I have got another 1-1 draw. I've got Matoma for Brighton and Jesus for Forest.
We almost have an identical prediction there, as I too have got Matoma to score one for Brighton and Igor Jesus to score one for Forest. But I've also got an extra goal in there for Luca. I don't know why, but I've just got a weird feeling about this game where like Forest probably feel like they to sort of give themselves as good a chance as they can. They're probably going to need to win at least another couple of away games, I think. And I don't know what their fixtures look like for the rest of the season, but given their next one is against a team that I don't think they've got a hope in hell's chance of winning against, they might see this one as one of their better chances to get 3 points.
I think if the fixtures within this week had fallen the other way around, I think coming off the back of the Fenerbahce game, like you say, against the other side, would it have really mattered?
I suppose. Obviously, we'll get to that when we come to that particular game. But yeah, I've gone for Forest to win 2-1. Like I said, Matoma, Igor Jesus, and Luca. Our fourth game of the week takes us back to a Monday night, and it's again my lot involved. Seems to be that Sky have done that thing where whoever's one of the teams in the top 2 in the championship, they just give no shits on, like, reschedule any of their fixtures and just put them on Sky whenever it suits them. As the next two Borough fixtures, no doubt, no less even, find themselves live on Sky. This one on a Monday night, and it's Birmingham City versus Middlesbrough. Tom Brady's Birmingham City, as I believe they now have to legally be called in all situations. Obviously, it's my lot, so I will give my prediction last. So we'll go to Mr. Woodmansey for his prediction on Blues versus the Borough.
I have got Borough to get back into winning ways, finally, with this one. Every team seems to go through that sort of slump, and I feel like this part of the season, it's whether it's a mini or a major slump that kind of determines the way that sort of the end of the season happens. Obviously, Coventry have had theirs. I feel like their mini blip has been and gone. I'm hopeful after the Derby result, that's ours done and gone as well. I think Borough are kind of in the midst of theirs at the moment, but still not losing games. They're still scraping a point out of it, so that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, obviously, like the Coventry game aside, obviously, which was, well, let's be honest, it's Cov. So, like, I still maintain we could have won 14 in a row. They could have lost every game they've played. They'll still beat us. It's just something that happens with that team. But yeah, Hellberg actually said after the Leicester game, yes, it's disappointing that they've now like not won in 3, but you could also look at it in the fact that they've only lost 1 in 9 at the other sort of side of the coin. So
exactly that. So I feel like that this is the time. Birmingham again, a little bit out of sorts here and there. So why not try and take them for the 3 points? I've got Gray to score for Birmingham. And I'm going for Conway and Hackney.
Lovely. That's a 1-2 for anyone not keeping score at home. I've also gone for a 2-1. Sadly, I've gone for it in the home team's favour. I've got a bit of a bad feeling about this one, and I don't really know. Yeah, it's a strange one. Like Birmingham, we either have good luck against, or we always seem to struggle. The fact that it's on TV, like a load will be made about it. There'll be a big deal. Like there'll be a bit of fuss. If he can, tear himself away from his avocado on toast and his involvement with the Raiders, Tom Brady might be in attendance. You never know, and stuff like that. So yeah, plus they've got an ex-Borough player in their squad, so obviously he's going to score, even though he's not played for like the past couple of games. Missed a penalty in the cup against Leeds. He did actually score in that game as well. Actually, so yes, I've gone for a 2-1 Birmingham win. I've gone for Dukes and Patrick Roberts to score for Birmingham, and I've gone for Riley McGree to continue his good form. He did have a spell at Birmingham earlier in his career as well, actually. So that the technically old boy rule on both sides of the ball. Speaking of which, I need to find McGree's stats, actually, because I'm pretty sure that I'd read something somewhere that said he's only started 10 games this season, but he's got 5 goals and 2 assists, I think I'd read. Which, for a guy that's made out of, poppadoms and stuff like that, and stuck together with fucking bubble gum, is a pretty good return. Said this in a group chat with a load of Borough supporting fans. He's like hands and like head and shoulders our most important player, and just keeping him fit between now and the end of the season is absolutely imperative if they're going to have any chance of automatic promotion. For me personally, 5th game of the week takes us into midweek next week. I suppose technically the Borough game is midweek because it's a Monday, but it's Tuesday. And I believe this is a catch-up fixture. Would this have been an FA Cup rearrangement, I'm assuming? Potentially?
Yes, correct.
And sees Ipswich Town taking on Hull City. This is one of Ipswich's 2 games in hand that they have on Borough. And after the results the other day, Ipswich find themselves in a position where if they can win both of their games in hand, they'll be level on points with Borough at the top of the table. It's Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will give his prediction second. So I'll dive in here. I've gone optimistically for a 1-1 draw here. I don't know if I've gone a bit sort of. Both teams are in it. Both teams will have aspirations of still being able to sort of achieve automatic promotion. So, yeah, I think I would imagine that of the two teams, Hull will be much more happy with a point. So I'm going to go for that. Of course, old boy rule is in effect. So I've gone for Akpom to score for Ipswich. And I've gone for Gelhardt to score for Hull.
Okay.
Your thoughts?
There's a few old boys you could have picked in this one.
Well, one of them definitely won't play because he's still injured.
Yeah.
Old Jaden.
Correct.
So.
And the other one is a defender, so I think possibly scored.
Yeah, but now we've put it in the ether, so he's going to rifle one in from about 40 yards out now, isn't he?
I mean, he definitely scored less than 5 in his time for Hull. I think I don't even know if he notched as many as 3.
I'll be amazed if he didn't score one of them against the Borough, because that's always the way.
Well,
always.
Very much. It was a coin toss for me between old boy rule or those bastards that always score against your team. So I went with that option. I've gone for Ipswich 2, Hull 1. Again, appreciate it's a catch-up fixture, but thanks very much for giving us one of the worst journeys of the entire season on a Tuesday night, you absolute scumbags. Just for reference as well, Football League, there is a spare Saturday. It could have been then, but no. Anyway, yeah, 2-1 Ipswich I've gone for. I've gone for Joseph to get the goal for Hull. Again, of late, been working his absolute nuts off, and he does pop up with one here and there, or he certainly has this season, so must be about due. And then for Ipswich, 2 players that seem to score against us, however, not really previously for Ipswich. First one, Clark, former Sunderland absolute scumbag, and Mehmeti, who has recently joined Ipswich from Bristol, who, again, Bristol usually do us dirty, and he was part of that, so why not?
There you go. So, our last game of the week, Game 6, is the one we were alluding to before, and it's Manchester City versus Nottingham Forest. Oh dear. I'm just going to rip the old plaster off straight away here. I don't see good things happening here. I think this is going to be a big score. I've gone for 4-0 City. And this is normally the game where Haaland gets one of his customary hat-tricks for the season. But I've only gone for one in this game. I've gone for him to score alongside Cherki, Marmoush and Foden. So that gives us the last prediction of the week to come from Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. What have you got down for City versus Forest?
I've gone slightly more optimistic. I've gone Manchester City 3, Nottingham Forest 1.
Ooh, same amount of goals, just you've given one of them to Forest.
Yeah. I've got 1 for Haaland, 1 for Semenyo, and 1 for Marmoush. And Paul, you're very welcome that I didn't pick any weird names this week. So, and for Forest, Luca.
Luca. Yeah, I think this is probably one of those ones where if we went back through the results that Forest have had since they got promoted, I think they've had a tonking off City every season since they've gone back up. Don't know for definite. I might just be pulling out of my ass, but that does seem to have that sort of flavour to it. So there you have it. That's the 6 games done and or dusted. Is there anything else we'd like to discuss this week on the podcast?
No, I've covered the injury stuff. So I don't think there was any extracurricular activity this week.
Good stuff. Yeah, nothing really from me other than the fact that obviously Borough haven't won in 3 games. So, of course, the usual doom mongers are saying that's it to game over. That's it. We're shit. We're wank. Not the fact that we're second in the fucking table or anything like that. It's the worst team they've ever seen. Conway's not a striker. The manager doesn't know what he's doing. Needs to sort of completely change the team. And stuff like that. There's a guy that I've been friends with for a number of years, but I haven't seen him in person for a long time. But he never seems to post anything on social media praising the team or anything like that. The only time he ever seems to tweet is when the team aren't doing that well. So I would put him into my category that I like of certain Borough fans of not happy unless he's fucking moaning.
We've all got them and I think
my God,
the amount of podcasts that we've done, I would suspect that some people may even class me in that bracket sometimes. But
well, I think if you were to sort of put together a running total of Matt's Forest predictions, he'd probably fall into that category because he's very rarely positive, shall we say?
There you go.
When it comes to his predictions,
there's one for the statisticians / some sort of AI program. If somebody could work out the overall aggregate of our team's predictions.
Well, I don't know, because obviously, bear in mind, there was a couple of seasons where Andy was making predictions and he rarely went for anything other than wins for the teams. So I think his predictions definitely bump that particular stat up a bit. So.
His goal difference as well would have improved slightly on the weeks where we played Leeds and stuff. So.
Yes, documented cases of 18-0 wins and stuff like that. So, yeah, lovely stuff. I believe he was even picking members of the under 13s that were down as goal scorers and stuff like that. So. But yes, that brings us to the end of yet another week here on the podcast. So thank you, as always, to that gentleman there for joining me to go through the details of his team alongside others in this crazy world of football. Join us again next week where we'll go through those games we've just predicted there and we'll have some more games to go through from the week after. But until then, thank you from me. Thank you, Mr. Woodmansey, and we'll see you in about 7 days' time. Tatty bye for now.
So there we go. What do you think's up? Another one done. Another one gone. Big thank you for watching. Big thank you for listening. Big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share the podcast around. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. Join the boys next week when they're going through all of these games, and there'll be more games to go through. So look forward to that. Until then, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.